Hi guys, welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to talk about the top 5 skills that every beginner graphic designer should learn in 2025. Not 2024, because we're going into the last quarter of 2024. I'm over talking about 2024. Let's talk about 2025. Let's prepare for the next year in advance, so that when it comes to January, you're not stuck thinking about what skills do I need to learn if I want to become a graphic designer. Prepare now so you can go into 2025 better prepared. I just said better prepared twice, but let's keep going. So the first skill that every beginner graphic designer should learn in 2025 is the Adobe Trinity. And by the Adobe Trinity, I mean Adobe Photoshop, Adobe Illustrator, and Adobe InDesign. This is the basics of basics. I say this because this Trinity, they're the first things I learned, for one, and they cover most areas of graphic design. For anything that's like image editing, adding shadows, and all those things that you see in the nice digital art kind of things, or where there's photo manipulation, that's Photoshop. And most people start off there and they create the flyers. I create flyers in Photoshop depending on the type of flyer. But if I'm going to create flyers, I use Photoshop because flyers are a lot more image based. But for Illustrator is more branding, logo design. It's not so much a photo editing app. You wouldn't use Illustrator to edit photos. You use Illustrator to illustrate. That's what it is. So if you want to create good drawings, if you want to create logos, Illustrator is the go-to app for this. It's got a lot more features that are to do with illustration than Photoshop. Actually, Photoshop is about painting and like manipulating imagery, whereas Illustrator is more for drawing 2D image. So if you were going to create a logo, branding, and all that kind of stuff, Illustrator is the one that you go to, and it's my favorite app. And the last in the Trinity is Adobe InDesign. So imagine if Adobe created Microsoft Word. This is what InDesign is. InDesign is mainly for publishing. So books, magazines, brochures, all those kind of things. That's what InDesign is for. And with InDesign, the tools and the things that you have on there are mainly for typography and layouts. So every graphic designer needs to learn Adobe Photoshop, Adobe Illustrator, and Adobe InDesign. That's the Trinity. And that's the bare minimum in terms of software that you need to learn. The second skill that every beginner graphic designer needs to learn in 2025 are the graphic design fundamentals. This should have probably been first in the list, but this is by no means like an extensive, and whatever order you do it is whatever order you do it. But graphic design's fundamentals, I'm talking about balance, I'm talking about contrast, I'm talking about repetition, I'm talking about spacing, all these things that help a design be more intentional and solve problems and to be more digestible and legible. These are the things that are the fundamentals, and they make up the backbone of graphic design. If you don't have the backbone of graphic design, the knowledge of the fundamentals, it's very easy to tell that you are just starting out and that you haven't really been educated. Whereas if you learn these fundamentals, if you go on YouTube, there's a lot of people talking about this, it will make your designs elevate. So it will set you apart from other beginners who are just diving in and maybe just using Canva and stuff like that without any graphic design knowledge. And this is no shade to anyone who uses Canva, but you can tell the difference between people that are actually learning the craft and people that are just winging it. So learn the graphic design fundamentals and it'll take you far in 2025. The next skill that every graphic designer needs to learn is how to apply strategy. And by strategy, I'm not talking about anything that's massively extensive. I'm talking about thinking about the problem being solved. So being able to ask a client or whoever's giving you the brief at work the right questions so you understand what you're trying to create. So if someone comes to you and says there's a flyer that they want for an event, let's say it's a church event, or let's say it's a concert or a live event, and they need a flyer done for social media and they want to print it out. One of the first questions you're going to ask is that, is this for social media or is this for print or is this for both? Because that will dictate the type of file that you create. That would dictate the dimensions. That would dictate the content that's on there. But you also need to ask, what's the purpose of this? Is this for them to buy tickets? Is this for them to buy a product? Is this for them to visit your website? What's the end goal of these things? And also, who is the target audience? Questions like this, being able to ask the right questions. This is strategy. And that's, again, one of the fundamentals of learning to be a designer. It's strategic, it's intentional. Because when you understand the whole vision and the goal of a design of the client, whether it's at work or stakeholder or someone that's hired you. You need to ask the right questions in order for you to understand what their ideal outcome from the project is. And then you need to deliver that as a designer. And also from the strategic side of things, you need to learn how to do visual research. So visual research is basically, I love it. It's like taking a scrapbook and adding loads of imagery to it. So you can add as much imagery as you want, but get the inspiration, know where to look to find inspiration, know how to find inspiration, know the right search terms to ask Google. Go outside, get some magazines, cut out some magazines, pick things up, read a book, go and find visual research, because if you know how to research like visually, then you'll be inspired very, very like effectively. And that will help you go a long way. I like to use Pinterest, for example, sometimes, but I would also sometimes look around me. And if I go to a restaurant, I'll be like, oh, I like the font there. I like the material that is made, that the menu is printed on. This is all research, and that's part of the strategy. So don't forget how to do strategy. Never dive into a design without going into strategy, please, for the love of God, because that's what a lot of people do. If you go on, again, okay, I don't care if you're calling the shade or not. People that go on Fiverr and like, they're just saying, I'm going to design a flyer for you. A lot of them are not doing strategy. Some of them are. I'm not saying that every single person, but a lot of them are not doing strategy. They're just saying, what do you want? And they're saying, I'm going to give it to you. And that's really it. That's not your job as a graphic designer. You are a problem solver. Ask the right questions and be strategic. I went on for a long time about this, but I'm clearly very passionate about it. Now, the next skill that every graphic designer needs to learn in 2025 is actually basic video editing. Now, I say every graphic designer, you don't need to. you can be a beginner and not know video editing, but it definitely helps. So the most basic video editing, I'm not talking about putting animations up on the screen. I'm not talking about effects. I'm not talking about all these things. I'm talking about taking a video like you're watching now and literally cutting the beginning and the end and taking out mistakes and saving it as a movie file. That's, I think, the basics. And if you're passionate about it, you can learn a lot more about it. I'm a bit more advanced. I'm not an expert at video editing, but I'm not too bad. I edit all my videos and all my social media stuff. And the reason I also ask most graphic designers to learn video editing as a skill is because you need to market yourself as a designer, whether you're looking for a new job or whether you are looking for freelance clients. Video is the most digestible content nowadays. You have the TikToks, the Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts, long form videos on YouTube. LinkedIn is now pushing out video a lot more. So video is something that you can't avoid. So you're better off just learning the basics of it so that you can show people your process of design. And as you get more confident and show them that you are actually a designer. If a picture is worth 1,000 words, a video is worth 1,000,000. So make sure that you learn basic video editing, whether it's on Canva, whether it's on Premiere Pro, whether it's on, I don't know, does iMovie still exist? The basics of basics. You could even use CapCut on your phone, but just learn how to literally cut a movie up and export it so that you can market yourself as a designer. And the last thing, this one is unavoidable. It is learning how to use AI. That is the last skill that I think every beginner graphic designer should learn in 2025. Not even just a beginner. You might have been doing graphic design for the last 20 years. You've got to learn how to use AI. I'm sorry. It's unavoidable. You can't avoid it. The robots are coming. They are coming. They're already here. So, and it's going to be much faster because AI is developing super fast. I've seen some really scary things. Use it in order to understand how it can make your job easier. For example, the way I use it, I don't like to read long documents. I also don't like to write essays. I use ChatGPT to come up with ideas for my content. And it helps me structure content and articles and Instagram posts and even ebooks just by giving it a few ideas. I am not someone that my profession is a writer. I'm not bad at writing, but ChatGPT helps me in the process of writing. It also helps me in the process of consulting because I will do a consultation and I'll get all the information, but then I'll give ChatGPT the information I've given and to spit it back to me in a digestible way. You have to know how to use it, right? But you're not going to know how to use AI if you don't mess around with it. So go on AI, get ChatGPT, go on Gemini, it's free. Just asking questions, learn about it, watch some videos, and you'll be surprised how easy it will make your life. It's not going to do your dishes. It's not going to do your taxes. It's not going to, do everything, but it's definitely something that can be leveraged as a designer if you use it in the right way. There's other sides of things. I know people are also like creators and artists, and rightfully so, are against AI. Rightfully so. All right. They have their reasons. I'm not here to debate that. However, there are some things that do, like AI really does, to make my life easier as a designer. For example, on Photoshop, when the image was like a square and I wanted to make it landscape, I had to do these weird things, such as like I almost had to make a Frankenstein's monster of something just to extend it. So like if someone's on the background and they're in the field and I wanted the field to be much longer, I had to basically duplicate part of the picture to create the rest of it. Now with AI, you can just do one command and it fills it in for you in less than a minute, like less than 30 seconds. It's crazy, but it's made my life so much easier in that sense. And let's not be ignorant. Okay, AI has its uses, and just like with any tool, AI is a tool. AI is not something that is here to destroy us. It's actually here to make our lives easier if leveraged in the correct way. I might annoy some people with this, but that's your problem. This is just my opinion. AI is a tool. And with every tool, it can be used for evil, but it can also be used for good. It's up to you which side to choose. So I hope that helped in 2025. I hope that you are given the right, direction to start off as a graphic designer in 2025. If you have any more questions, let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell. And I'll see you on the next video.